Mr. Deputy Speaker, the Public Sector Governance Bill's explanatory statement says this. It says it is designed to improve the consistency of our governance framework for stat boards by standardizing and formalizing several key provisions that have a whole of government importance. But the spirit of the bill is more ambitious, particularly in the use or development of information technology such as big data analytics, blockchain technology, and artificial intelligence. Speaking at a technology conference last September, Deputy Chief Executive of GovTech, Mr. Chan Chia Ho, suggested that the government has changed in its approach to delivering services in the past few years. Away from a prescriptive view where ministries and agencies know everything, in his words, to providing what they think is good for citizens, and somehow, or rather, people should accept it in the past, but now the social contract has changed quite a far bit. He says more and more citizens are very demanding, and finally concluded that it's really about understanding what people need at various moments in their life and delivering this service. I wholeheartedly agree with Mr. Chan. While I support the bill's intent to codify a uniform corporate governance framework for the public bodies and the public service in the interests of consistency, transparency, and efficiency, I have concerns as to whether the bill best furthers this aptly termed new social contract in the public sector governance. My concerns are as follows, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and allow me to take them in turn. Number one, provisions such as the obligation on the stat boards to keep proper accounts and present its audited financial statements to the minister in charge in a timely manner are straightforward. Apart from being contained in the stat board's constituent acts, there should be no question as to whether or not there is an obligation to do so. The same can be said, perhaps, of requirements of information sharing, disclosure of certain interests, and submitting budget estimates on time. What then, Mr. Deputy Speaker, has prompted the ministry or the ministries to consider further hard-coding stat board obligations which implement government policies and deliver public services? Two, are ministers concerned that there may be directions that have not been complied with by stat boards? Have stat boards suggested thus far that they may choose not to comply with a request or direction made by a relevant ministry in relation to a pertinent subject matter as envisioned by Clause 4.1 because it does not have or carry the force of law? Number three, are there specific instances of public sector governance lapses regarding certain stat boards, such as perhaps the Land Transport Authority, that have moved the government to highlight the importance of standardizing, formalizing, and strengthening regulatory oversight? Have there been recent lapses in financial auditing or reporting to the Auditor General or other authority that are cause for concern? Four, is there any clarification on the mechanism for and the scope of data sharing under Clause 6 of the bill? Will further guidance be given to both the public sector agency that requests and the one that receives the data? And will any protective measures be available to guard against unwitting data privacy breaches? Number five, could the minister give examples perhaps to illustrate the broad point that is made in relation to Clause 7.2 on when, in certain circumstances, unauthorized data sharing may not be an offense? Looking at the explanatory note, it suggests that this may not be an offense if the sharing may have been done on the basis of the common law exception of public interest. If there could be a further elaboration on this point. Number six, is the position of the chief executive within each public body a new point? How is this any different from the current position conferred to the top administrator who helms every directorate of each stat board? Number seven, Clause 27 seems somewhat counterintuitive. It says that even if a member of a public body does not disclose a conflict of interest or does not abstain from being involved in decision-making that might benefit him, the public body's decision remains valid. Will that rob the duty to disclose a conflict of interest of having any real consequence? Should any decision on the consequences of the failure to disclose not be made by a public service administrative tribunal, or perhaps even a court. Number 8, given the importance the bill appears to place on data sharing for big data analytics, what are the benefits the government hopes to reap in sectors perhaps like healthcare? And how will it insulate against the risk of data privacy breaches? Number 9, the bill seems to be silent on an important point, which is about whistleblowers. Will whistleblowers within the public service be encouraged to come forward? The bill focuses on the policy change that it represents, but this would be an important component of that policy change. But individuals will not come forward to volunteer information if they fear that they would attract criticism or blame. So it is essential, in the absence of obvious or serious wrongdoing, to encourage such individuals within the public service that there is an open culture of sharing and questioning rather than a culture of blame. Finally, Mr. Deputy Speaker, let's move to a situation where there is serious wrongdoing. We heard earlier this morning about Keppel O&M's recent cooperation with investigative agencies both in Singapore and abroad. But I must say that this comes as small comfort to Singaporeans who fear that Singapore's image regarding anti-corruption has been irreparably tarnished. KOM pays a large fine. Singapore pays an incalculably higher one. In such instances, as far as public sector governance goes, could there be something further that Parliament can do? So I'm not talking about the legal accountability, I'm not talking about criminal procedure and justice, but is there a role for Parliament to play, perhaps within select committees or parliamentary commissions, to look at situations that could guide government-linked companies and stat boards? Were there ever to be a situation where they would fear that someone should come forward to speak about a point, or there is a danger of a serious wrongdoing? A critical issue, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and let me end on this point, a critical issue, therefore, is to identify why a hazard occurs. What factors, environmental, organizational, human, cultural, were potential causative factors, and how the risk of a similar event occurring again can be reduced. This requires patience to recognize that no system will be able to prevent every adverse event from occurring, that people should work together collaboratively to ensure this doesn't happen again.